right. Well, hello. This is Chicken Philosophy. Carl Jung's Black Books, part 77. 2 sevens. So that's cool. Before I get into all this, welcome. How are you doing? Are you doing all right? Did you enjoy your day? I hope so. I'm going to fuck around with a D20, if you don't mind. I think it'll be fun. So, what we do here, for those who are new... Hi, new people. Are there new people? Fascinating. Every 15 episodes of Chicken Philosophy, the chicken wheel lines up such that Frater BT, which is to say me, is reading Carl Jung's Black Books, right? There's 2 other people, and there's 4 other books, so 15. And we got in the habit of doing this thing where I put up these cards and read about the cards, and then the episodes end up being pretty long. And, it's just the way it is. Anyway, so we put up these to ask ourselves, like, what is Carl Jung about to get up to in the journal entries that we're about to read? We haven't read them yet. We're doing a divination to see what we're about to read. And this is interesting. That rarely, but sometimes I go into an episode with a theme already in mind. Like, I already kind of know what that image on the right side of the thumbnail is going to be. At other times, I don't know until I'm completely finished editing. And then I go, oh, what should I do for the thumbnail? And then I free associate something like Tron Ares, because there was a Tron thing at one point, kind of. Or whatever, usually it's at least a little bit related to something that is said in the episode. But today is a rarity, where before I even spoke the first words, the me that sits here, Frater BT, in front of you, on camera, you caught on camera, you saw with your eyes, I think I made a sound. Do you remember I made a sound? When I realized that the Fool card came up twice. This is a first on Chicken Philosophy. The 0 card, the Fool, in 2 different decks, the Celtic Tarot and the Golden Dawn Tarot. So we're gonna be reading a lot about the Fool card. So, but before we get to any of this, I want to do a divination, in which it's like a complex bibliomancy divination. So of the 10 books, now sharp-eyed viewers will be like, what? Aren't there 11 books? Yes, but this book is the same as this book. It's just a different edition. So there's 10 books, and I'm gonna roll this D20. And if it's 1 or 2, that counts as 1. If it's 3 or 4, that counts as 2. You can figure out the pattern and fill in the gaps on the... I'll go ahead and... All right, so this is a 12, which means it's a 6. 1, 2... That one doesn't count because it's the same as the one on top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 1,001 more computer-generated sonnets. Now, before you click away, back in the day, back in the 80s, there were certain types who would write programs to do silly things that would make dots appear and disappear, like back in the days of DOS, make things appear and disappear, calculate your taxes or whatever. And I would do my thing, which was to say, I had a program that makes randomly generated sonnets. It's sort of like Mad Libs on crack. So this is like, obviously 40 years before, the equivalent. I first programmed it in 91, I think, and then I programmed it again because I didn't have the original copy, but it's pretty much exactly the way it was when I first did it when I was like 12. And anyway, so I'm going to roll the D20 again. How many? Oh, there's 1,001 sonnets. So we'll narrow it down this way. The first 10 in the thousand, the 1 and the 0, if you think of that as a 10. Okay, 3, which is to say 1 and a half. So, what? Yeah, okay, so 150 is the first number. Now we're going to determine what this second set of 10 is. It's a 12, which means it's a 6. So let's just say 210 plus 14, 224. So the first sonnet in this book is 2022. So 224, was it? If it wasn't, then God wanted me to make that mistake. So 2022 plus 224 is going to be 2246. Sonnet number 2246. Now those are the total, not the total sonnets. 2246, not the total sonnets that Sonnet 1 can generate. That's a ridiculous number. It's up there competing with the limits of things in the universe, that kind of thing. Potential sonnets that it can generate, And then the ones that it's actually appeared on the screen, also not all of them were screenshotted. The ones that were screenshotted became canon. And there's a Sonnet 1, but I don't know where it is. But it starts at about 400, and it goes up to 2,000. It goes up to 3,022. There are 3,022 canon sonnets by Sonnet 1. Now, 2,246 is titled Baseball Reflective by Gargles Mythologically. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is which line. Now, how are we going to get... There's 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. What? How many lines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 14 lines in a sonnet. So let's see if it's between 1 and 14. It's 16. No. 20. No. 7. Line number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The Fool. Sonnet 1 and the Fool. For those who know Sonnet 1, you remember this guy? The Fool. The Fool and Sonnet 1. That's the theme of today's episode. I don't know exactly what the image on the right is going to be. All I know is that this line, composed by the computer program that I wrote, who has my face because it's Tron rules in the 80s, right? That line is, the most sexy burlap rubs magnificently underneath a tramp. Jesus, Sonnet 1, what the hell are you saying? Right. So now we have an idea of what's going on in Carl Jung's private life, perhaps, with Marie Moltzer or Tony Wolff or his wife sometimes, presumably. Oh, right. Now we get to read the cards, and this is the point in the episode where I remember that I forgot to do a rune. So we're going to do a rune now. I'm going to just dump them all out. And the one that fell on the floor is the one that's going to go right here. Okay. So yeah, now we talk about the stuff going on around here for a while, and then we do the reading. That's what we do. I don't know, right or wrong. It's just what happens. Beginning with the end, the rune that's up there is Ehwaz. Eihwaz. Ahwaz. Not to be confused with Ahwaz, the Almighty. Defense, right? Is that the same one? Yes. I think. Yeah, Awas. That's what that is, right? Yes. Defense. Yew tree. A bow made of yew. Y-E-W. Avertive powers. Runic calendars, or, quote, prim staves, end quotes. Okay, thank you. The rune book, the Book of Runes. On my dad's old Rider Waite, this one, it's the Emperor reversed, loss of control, serious injury in battle, emotional immaturity and bondage to parents, or perhaps animas in Carl's case. Possibility of being defrauded of one's inheritance. The Fool, the zero key, the 11th path. Because if you count Tree of Life, Keter is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It goes Keter, Chokmah, Binah, Geburah, like that. And then 10 is Malkut. And then 11 is the path that connects Keter with Chokmah. The magical title of the card is the Spirit of the Ether. The path of the Fool is that important first connection between Keter, parentheses, the crown, the ultimate source of everything, end parentheses, and Chokmah, parentheses, wisdom. We've talked about Chokmah before, right? End parentheses, perhaps Sophia in Proverbs, you know what I mean? It is the path known as the fiery intelligence. 3 dots. I don't know why they're there. The first current of potential vibration. It is the precursor of the first thought. This being the case, the card's meaning is one of the hardest to grasp due to its close proximity to the unmanifest with a capital U. Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, or alphabet, you might say, parentheses, as well as the best loved letter of God, end parentheses, is attributed, but don't worry about bet. You got to be the first letter in the Bereshit, Bara, Elohim, Vet, Hashemim, Vet, Haaretz. You know, the first line of the Bible. What? Aleph is what? Is attributed to this card. What is? Yes. Okay. Oh, is attributed to the Fool card. In the Zohar, one of the ancient Kabbalistic texts, Aleph is described as absolute unity. Therefore, it cannot be given a number, since numbers are set apart from one another. To this key, a 0 is assigned, since 0 represents the circle of unity. The path of the Fool is the possibility, or first glimmer of a thought. From out of the limitless light, the life breath of the Ruach, parentheses, spirit, end parentheses, begins to form the thought of manifestation. It is, quote, the crown of wisdom, the primum mobile, acting through the air on the zodiac, end parentheses. So the heaven of Messiah, if you remember the aspects or whatever on the paths, the primum mobile refers to the Reshit HaGilgalim, right? Which is the beginning of the Gilgalim, which is like an eternal sort of circular implied process, according to my Hebrew teacher, Gila Nissan. So it's kind of like a little more than first mover, because first mover you can just think of like whoever knocks over the first domino, but first mover means it's like a paradox, or it's like prime, the prime meaning the first, the most important, like Caesar was the prime citizen or whatever. What am I talking about? You know what I mean? Of the eternal, cyclical, infinite universe, basically, the Gilgalim. I don't know. Maybe comment below if you know more about that than I do. The new Golden Dawn Ritual Tarot shows the child god, Harpocrates, about to pick one of the yellow roses, parentheses, the golden rose of joy, End parentheses. A child has the sum of all possibilities of life yet to come. Therefore, he has the potential to do anything. Harpocrates is also the god of silence, and here he is shown giving the sign of silence, one of the grade signs of the neophyte. This alludes to the fact that higher spiritual knowledge cannot be communicated verbally. 3 dots. If you want to know what's in the 3 dots, you're going to have to join the Cicero order. Oh, I wanted to say cult, but they're nice people. It's a hierarchical thing with a chief. Like, what else are you going to call it? Although, I don't know if I'd call it... That's rude. Chick is charismatic, Edward. Come on. Call them a cult. It's a compliment. There is only truth in silence. The innocent babe holds the leash of a powerful wolf, capable of destruction. The two opposing concepts of innocence and ferocity here balance and counteract each other. The babe is the beginning of life, while the wolf has the ability to end life. This card could be said to represent birth or death. Both are natural expressions of the cycle of the universe, although in this card the beast is held in check by divine innocence. This card is attributed to air, the symbol of which appears in the upper left-hand corner. The roses are also yellow, signifying that the grasping child is about to take his first breath of air. Thirsty for experience, he seeks an initiation of spirit life. So that was about this fool. Now we'll talk about this fool, the Celtic Tarot version. The Fool. The Fool represents the beginning of a journey and is symbolized by the youthful figure of a young man dressed in green, a traditional color of spring. He appears to be intoxicated by the perfume of a white rose and oblivious to his sudden leap from a rocky precipice into space. But the element of air, a symbol of the spirit, an unconfined energy which permeates all things, controls his action. This is shown in the background, with the movement of air delicately traced through the Celtic art of interlacing rather than in precise shapes or solid form. The sun has already risen to its zenith and is slowly descending, a symbol of the beginning and end of a cycle, which is something of an enigma until the significance of the Fool begins to be understood. It has been called the most profound card in the tarot and summarizes the soul's quest for wisdom and perfection. The staff slung over his shoulder is tied with a small bundle. It represents all his worldly goods, which seem rather meager. It is symbolic, however, of the impulsive nature, rejecting the material life for something of more value. The surrounding mist symbolizes the mysterious element or nature of his quest, whilst the two dog-like animals simultaneously urge him onward and pull him back from the dangerous vacuum now created. The hounds represent the positive and negative forces that operate in the earthly regions. The Fool in the Celtic Tarot can be linked to the, quote, great fool, end quote, Dalua of the Celts. A fundamental belief in many ancient civilizations is the association of madness, or fools, with great wisdom. Fools and young children are inclined to speak the truth. They are also the mediums in the group or radical consciousness, unblemished by sin and surrounded by the light of the soul. The card is also linked to the Spring Festival, the 1st of February in the Celtic calendar, and represented by the goddess Brigantia. She is the young maiden aspect of the Celtic lunar goddess. This particular aspect is part of the 3 cycles of spiritual growth: germination, regrowth, decay, but not death. The changes taking place are part of the eternal cycle of life and demonstrated in the number of the Fool, 0, an element of addition which cannot be quantified. This card actually deals with asking for advice. It represents an intuition, an intention or an ambition in the early stages. Shall I or shan't I? If the querent draws this card, it reflects his or her own uncertainty in the matter. A querent might be quite literally on the brink of making a disastrous move, which could have considerable repercussions, or find his or her decision is incorrect at the time, even if friends and family think the querent is being hasty and ill-advised. The butterfly. That's this from this. Sensitivity, positiveness, transformation, harmony of balance, take flight. Butterfly, you're a beautiful sight. Know the changes of will and nature. Know the changes and will of nature. Being whole, the WH, and one with your maker. Okay. Beautiful Butterfly asks where you are on your transformational cycle. Honor each stage of growth. Each is important. There are no shortcuts, and nothing is wasted. Carl Jung's magical item is the carpet of flying. We've all seen, what's his name? Anakin and Jasmine. You know who I'm talking about, right? Prince Ali, Aladdin. We've all seen Aladdin, so I think we're a little bit familiar with the carpet of flying. It's very rare. You can speak the carpet's command word as an action to make the carpet hover and fly. It moves according to your spoken directions, provided that you are within 30 feet of it. And finally, the adult blue dragon. Wow, that sounds... Frightful presence. Each of the dragon's choice, that is 120 feet, blah, blah, blah. The dragon take 3 legendary actions, choosing... He's a tough one. Huge dragon, lawful evil. Okay, that kind of says a lot. So somebody who, works within the law, and they probably have 20,000 lawyers, right? But they're, wreaking absolute havoc. That's a symbol of that. All right. Interesting. I wonder if any of that is gonna, resonate with what Carl writes down in his black books in the next entry. I guess we'll find out, and then Editor Edward will tell us. Editor Edward is me tomorrow. I just got back from this. We got to hang out with some friends. Close friends of the family, the man whose wife sends me a Rocky every year, which is something you send to a brother-in-law. You know what I mean? Old college friend of Pius. So yeah, it was fun. We went to Anjuna, and we hung out with them for a few hours. And now we got back, and then it was pouring rain, and I drove them to their cab, and then they grabbed their luggage out of the trunk, and then I parked, came up here, put this on, and hit record. And now here we are. Wow, it all comes full circle. And so obviously Editor Edward is me tomorrow, because I am not going to do any editing tomorrow. I mean, Editor Edward's not going to do any editing tomorrow. I'm Frater BT. I sit in front of the camera and talk, but Editor Edward. Now, you. All right. So I suppose everything's done. We did everything, and now we can get to the reading. Cheers. All right. I'm pretty sure I didn't put the sticker in this time, but this is January the 18th. The last one was you need to recognize the multiplicity of the gods, but only worship one god. You remember that? It's kind of random, but whatever. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else from someone talking to something in his subconscious when they are in, Western Europe, Northwestern Europe specifically. So there's a little bit of someone in there, Martin Luther maybe, with a little Martin Luther in drag. Is that PC? Probably not. Do people even say PC anymore? His anima, I'm saying Carl Jung's anima might be influenced by, let's put it that way. It's a little bit. Anyway, but never mind. Okay, so yeah, January the 18th, 1916. Here we go. Oh, my soul, what are you doing? What anxiety and unease are you creating for me? What will come to be in the depths of my future? What am I seeing? Blazing flames? A fire? A bloody fire? Oh my God, I call you. Force my soul to provide an answer to the things that besiege me. Quote, you thought of the great flood. You thought of the protective rampart. You did not think of the fire that drives through the air. End quote. The fire, what do you want to say? Quote, be reasonable. A fire hovers in the air. It draws near. A flame, many flames, a searing miracle. Many lights burn like the stars in the night. My beloved, it is the mercy of the eternal fire. The breath of fire descends on you. End quote. My soul, I call upon you. I fear something terrible and dreadful. Nameless fear fills my heart, since the things that you announced beforehand were awful. Must everything be broken, burned, and destroyed? Does no cry of despair reach you? Quote, patience. Fire is above you, in front of you, a sea of embers, a consuming fire, a blazing fire. End quote. Don't torture me. What dreadful mysteries you possess. Speak, I implore you, my God, my far-off star. I call upon you. Where is your power? Protect me, or give me the power to endure the unspeakable. Or are you lying again, my soul? Damned tormenting spirit, deceiving fiend, what are your treacherous specters supposed to mean? Quote, I also want your fear. End quote. What for? Quote, to bring it before the ruler of this world. He demands the sacrifice of your fear. End quote. Why? Speak. Quote, he deems you unworthy of this sacrifice. Abraxas has mercy upon you. End quote. Mercy upon me? What is that supposed to mean? I'd rather want to hide myself from him. My face shrinks from the ruler of this world, for it is branded. It bears a terrible mark. It beheld the forbidden. Therefore I avoid the ruler of this world. End quote. What? Carl Jung put in quotes after himself? Is that a crossed out quote? I don't know. I'll just move on. I'm pretty sure that was Carl talking. Then suddenly there's an end quote. Don't know. Quote, but you should come before him. Your fear attracted him. End quote. Carl, I'd say go for it. I mean, you got to try everything once, right? You instilled this fear in me, liar. Why did you give me away? Quote, you have been summoned to serve him. End quote. Thrice damned fate, why can't you leave me in seclusion? Why has he chosen me for the sacrifice? Thousands would gladly throw themselves before him. Why must it be me? I cannot. I don't want to. Quote, you possess the word that should not be allowed to remain concealed. End quote. I am going to teach it to my own, to the nearest, so don't throw it on the street. Why do you want to help Abraxas? He has the power he should create from himself. Why should I bleed for him and be consumed by the eternal fires? My God, deliver me from fear. Give me the redeeming vision. Into your hands I commit my spirit. For the record, it's not often in an interaction between Carl and his soul that I'm 100% with Carl. Today is the day. Today is full card day. Today is something about a burlap sack, whatever Sonnet once said. That's not important. Defense, I don't know if it fits in. But the point is, I'm with Carl on this one. Quote, I see wide meadows. Wait, is that Carl? No, it's not. It's Carl, not his soul talking. I see wide meadows and blue mountains, and smoke sweeps over. A sea of fire rolls close in. It is setting the towns and villages on fire, breaking through the valleys, burning the forests. I go before it in a burning robe, with singed hair, a crazy look in my eyes, a parched tongue, a hoarse voice. I forge ahead and announce what approaches. I cross the mountains and go into every quiet valley and stammer words of fright and proclaim the fire's agony. Men flee in horror from me, since I bear the marks of the fire. They do not see the fire, but they see me and suspect that I am the messenger of the burning agony. I hate it when that happens, Carl. I have to say, I've been there. What fire, they ask. What fire? I stutter, I stammer. What do I know about the fire? I looked at the embers, I saw the blazing flames. Help us, my God, and carry us over. My God, prepare me. It is death. Is it something immortal? My God, why have you forsaken me? O horrendous silence! My soul, speak, for heaven's sake. Speak. Quote, you have waited long enough. The holy fire is blazing. Step into the flames. Step into the light. Bring up what lay in the dark. Proclaim what is to come. End quote. What should I proclaim? The fire? Which fire? Quote, the flame that blazes over your head. Look up, the skies redden. End quote. If everyone would sit up straight, connect with a few inches above the crown of your head. A light appears. Me in the past, not editor Edward, but editor Edward wearing that shirt that Kay got us back in South Africa. What? Yeah, could you, I think I was wearing that. Maybe I wasn't. But the point is, could you read the line I'm thinking of from Transformation?
The being fire burns in the crown, permeating all the rest. In these are 7 life centers. Should we tell the others what they already know, or let them find out?
Let's let them find out. They're not watching Chicken Philosophy anyway. You are. Where were we? Yeah, so why not read a little more? January 23rd, 1916. My God, my wonderful light. Let's finish the book. Finish book 5 today. How about that? January 29th, 1916. If I've been saying 2016, feel free to kick, not too hard, kick your phone. Take your shoes off first. Never mind. I'm just saying. January 29th, 1916. My soul, I know that you have summoned the devil. He has sent his burdensome vapors. It was he who knocked at my door with his herd of dark companions. I could smell them in the air. What came over you, that you played that prank on me? Why the devil, bracket parentheses, quote, end bracket parentheses, thank you, Sonu, to break open what is locked? It's a question, end quote. What? My mysteries? They are already way too exposed. Quote, no, your iron doors. End quote. That this wicked herd can break into my garden. Should I be plundered and thrown out onto the rubbish? You make me into an ape and a child's plaything. When, oh my God, shall I be saved from this hell of fools? I am longing for death, for innermost cold. Should that be the devil? He's somewhere in the neighborhood. My soul, damned gadfly, stop it at last. Too much ugliness, too much dirt, too much blatant nonsense. I want to be a man. I don't want to love men anymore. That's all underlined. I don't want to love men anymore. And listed without making it just an innuendo. Pause. God, Carl, really going through something right now. Don't want to love men anymore. I've kind of been there too, though, when the love of your fellow human being causes you to stray from the path of just pure non-attachment and just be here now. But I got to take care of that. I got to help so and so. I mean, I think it's compassion. You're supposed to get up and take a break from meditating. Just ask Green Tara. See, she's not in full lotus. White Tara's in full lotus. Green Tara's ready to get up and help somebody. So she's a good role model that way. Also, when someone told her at some point she'd have to reincarnate as a man if she wanted to be enlightened, she added to her bodhisattva vow that she would never incarnate as a man. So she's an early feminist icon from a long time ago, more than 1,000 years ago at least. I mean, within the canon of its own story, cinematic universe, she's much older than 1,000 years. But I think she probably came around. I mean, she was probably, I imagine, related to the ancient Tara, the more pre-Buddhist goddess of space or something. I'm kind of ignorant about that ancient Tara, but maybe she's named after that. But she's a specific bodhisattva who refused to. Anyway, I want to hack to pieces your cursed webs. Go to hell, you fools. The light shall surround me. Quote, what are you talking about? Let the devil get to work. He'll see to it. No end quote, but I think Carl replies now. How can I trust you? You work for yourself, not for me. What good are you, you tramp? Didn't Sonnet 1 say, let's replay that, Editor Edward? The most sexy burlap rubs magnificently underneath a tramp. How come the word fool came up in plural and there were two fools? And Sonnet 1 of all people. Trippy. This Editor Edward's going to have fun with this tomorrow. I think it's not the first time he's called his soul a tramp. If you don't even know how to protect me from the devil's confusion, should that be the hellfire? Quote, you get annoyed. Be quiet. You are disturbing the work. End quote. I'm tired. I don't want any surprises. Speak. What is your plan? What about the devil and his nightly haunting? Quote, we came to perform the work, the mysterious, the invisible. We cooked the air around you. We mixed it with fine, narcotic, confusing, and beguiling vapors. We prepare the necessary emanation, long missing and anxiously sought. I want to participate in your renown. You suit us. Let us take effect. We threw out nets with smooth words, with spoken gestures. Let yourself go. It will flow like oil and smell like nard. Inimitable fiery glow, fidgeting little men in invisible snares, quiet mocking laughter in the distance, grinding teeth, captives trembling with fear. And quotes, "Shut up, you devil, I'm disgusted." Quote, "You like it. The day of reckoning is near. Don't forget all the hardship you suffered. They will pay ransom. Ha! How they will hurry to welcome the master and bow down." And quote, "Damned ones, did the devil give you your words?" Quote, "Shiny, glistening words, bright as sharp steel, cutting as the north wind, mockery of exquisite value." And quote, "I am getting sick." Quote, "Spirits will do the work, not you. Be quiet and let us take charge. We will strike for sure. Dwell quietly, calmly. We'll poke the embers. Build calmly, stone by stone. We'll do our bit. Don't worry. The fire glows already." And quote, "My God, you can see the sacrilege." Quote, "May fate be accomplished." End quote. All right. Let's see what happens next. January 30th, 1916. What? It's boiling frightfully. Quote, "Life is beginning." End quote. Should it begin many more times, or hasn't it started yet? It's an unbearable tension. When will silence descend? Quote, "Slowly, slowly. Don't push." End quote. "It's all very well for you. I am being scattered. Honestly, as if iron doors ought to be blown. What shall get out and how?" Quote, "From the backside." End quote. I don't know if they're having the same conversation right now, but anyway, let's see where this goes. Awful creature. Oh, Carl, open your mind. 1916. Some Edwardian sensibilities about private time. Quote, "Behind your back. In polite language. Everything happens behind your back." End quote. "Why shouldn't I be there? I, too, want to live." Quote, "It will come to you from the front." End quote. "And one can trust that?" Quote, "What else? Can you do it? No. You can only wait until it emerges." End quote. "But it's tearing me apart. Since you have brought the devil, I am getting tormented hellishly. You need to bring some relief. Speak a redeeming word. What's up with the spirits? They're tearing at me and I have difficulties standing." Quote, "Surrender." End quote. "So speak, you dead. Aren't you empty yet?" Quote, "We have come back from Jerusalem, where we did not find what we sought. We implore you to let us in. You have what we desire, not your blood, but your light. That is it." End quote. "But what can I do?" Quote, "Teach us. We'll listen." End quote. "What shall I teach?" Quote, "The wisdom, the knowledge that you have gained and we lacked." End quote. But where shall I begin? Quote, begin, wherever you think it's good to start. End quote. Now listen, you dead, I teach you. I begin with nothingness. Nothingness is the same as the fullness. In infinity, full is as good as empty. Nothingness is empty and full. You might just as well say anything else about nothingness. For instance, that it is white or black, or that it does not exist, or that it exists. That which is endless and eternal has no qualities, since it has all qualities. Yes. All right, Carl, you redeemed a lot of points that you lost when you were doing the intro and outro to Secret of the Golden Flower. That was on point. Woo! Bullseye, I'd say. Bullseye. We call this nothingness or fullness the pleroma. Therein both thinking and being cease. Since the eternal and endless possess no qualities, no one is in it, for he would then be distinct from the pleroma, and would possess qualities that would distinguish him as something distinct from the pleroma. In the pleroma, there is nothing and everything. It is fruitless to think about the pleroma, for this would mean self-dissolution. The creature is not in the pleroma. The pleroma is the beginning and end of the creature. It covers it all over. It covers it all over, so to speak. It pervades it, just as the sunlight pervades the air. Although the pleroma pervades us, we are not in it, since we do not partake in it. This is where I'd say speak for yourself, Carl. Mr. Oh, Adam fell and he can't get back. Help me, somebody, anybody. That's kind of like, okay. I prefer the Vedanta way of looking at it, personally. It's just a personal preference. But, good vibes from my world to yours, you Abrahamics. You know what I'm saying? And others who have a similar fall from Eden thing going on. You know what I'm saying? Just as a wholly transparent body becomes neither light nor dark through the light pervading it. But we are the pleroma. Thank you. Now Carl and I are in alignment again. See? It's weird when that happens. Huh. Trippy. For we are enclosed in and part of the eternal and the endless. It's not a bullseye, but like a 20. Like when you're throwing darts. That's a solid 20 down the middle, just north of bullseye. It's all right. But we have no share therein, as we are definitely removed from the pleroma. Oh, that's where it hits the wall. When you're playing darts and you are really drunk and you don't even hit the dartboard and it hits the wall. That's humble opinion, editorial commentary, whatever the fuck. Doesn't matter. Yeah, not spatially or temporally, but essentially. Oh, you can be. You can definitely be removed from it. That's an option for sure. But you don't need to be, and you can get back in it in a nanosecond if you decide to. That's what I'd say. Maybe it's what? But essentially, with essentially underlined, since we are distinguished from the pleroma in our essence as creation, which is confined within time and space. That's the end of the book. So, yeah, Inasmuch as I'm me and you're you, we are separate from the pleroma. Inasmuch as I'm Frater BT or Edward or Gwydion or Pymander or any of the rest. Inasmuch as I am a person who was born and will die, a spongy flesh brain, gray matter, making memories and then making symphonic orchestral melodies based on those memories and projecting the concept of the mirror refraction of the present time synaptic orchestra into the past, or the idea of the past, and then mirror imaging that into the future, and doing all of that stuff. Inasmuch as if we say I am that, we're totally not the pleroma. But when the moment you stop doing that, or realize that it's optional, and that you're actually the silent witness behind it all, who's been observing yourself thinking and feeling and talking and making memories and being born and all that, then, right? Because the path of the fool doesn't just go one way, it goes back up too, like the salmon swimming upstream to watch out for the bears. But once you get up to the top of the stream, have fun, you crazy kid, or whatever salmon do. I think they already had fun before they swam up. All right. Well, okay, this is the point in the episode where we call upon my future self, known as Editor Edward. Hey, Editor Edward. See him there, sitting there at his computer, at his desk on another day. I think you're in June 5th, and I'm in June 4th. Actually, it's June 6th for me. I did all the editing on June 5th, and June 6th morning, watched it all the way through and made notes. Some of you, as I'm talking right now, are still in June 3rd because of the time difference. Though it's night here, so most of you are, if you're in Hawaii. I don't know if anybody's watching from Hawaii. If you're watching from Hawaii, please do let me know, so I'll know that somebody was watching. Never mind. Never mind. It's not important. The important thing is, it's the point in the episode where we ask, hey, Editor Edward, you remember these?
Of course.
These 7 things. Could you tell us, now that you've edited all of that and chose music for it, good job, by the way, I assume he's not going to phone it in. There's no need for him to phone it in because he can take his time with this one. Anyway, can you tell us what you think as far as a connection or connections between these images on the screen here, the rune and the 6 cards, and the various entries that we just read from Carl Jung's Black Book, the end of Book 5?
There's a lot.
So, defense and the, bondage to the mother, or, that kind of thing, the bondage to the parents, that's fascinating. And I mean, Carl's coming in from a very defensive position. He doesn't understand this fire.
Fire, walk with me.
We've got this reversed emperor, which is like a very ill-dignified, not good, fiery thing, Aries energy. But then we've got the fool is the fiery path or something like that. So it's talking about spirit fire. So there's this white fire or colorless, invisible fire of the Holy Spirit above the head, and that gets clarified at the end of the first entry that this is the fire we're talking about. To the uninitiated or whatever, it might appear as a consuming fire, and it kind of is. At one point he says, I want to hack the web of these fools or something like that and exist in the light, and that's the kind of consuming fire that we're talking about. It reminds me a little bit of my old Orthodox priest, Father Alexei, talking about how when you don't have your body to separate you from God, he might have even said the pleroma, I don't know, but anyway, that you're just completely surrounded by it and it's inside you, and if you are on a vibration or whatever. These are my words, not his exactly, but if you're in tune with love and you have no guilt and all this stuff, then that fire just feels like heaven. It feels like ecstasy. But if you've made yourself into a monster, you've made yourself into throughout your life by doing bad things and not repenting or whatever, then it feels torturous, like burning fire. The two fools, amazing stuff. Butterfly, Carl Jung seems to have gone through a transformation, especially right at the end when he starts talking to the Anabaptist ghosts. They didn't mention that they were Anabaptists, but when they first appeared, there was Elijah, and the Elijah that he's talking to is not the prophet from the Tanakh or the Old Testament, but he's an Anabaptist, and they were a heresy that existed around Martin Luther's time, like when he got the ball rolling on being heretical or being use your own ideas, ask the Holy Spirit. And there were people that were like, well, I asked the Holy Spirit and they said it's lame to baptize babies, so we baptize ourselves as adults so that we can do it knowingly, even if we were baptized as babies. Hence Anabaptists baptize again. But the Nicene Creed said we believe in one baptism, not two. But they do too. They just don't believe in the one that they didn't consciously participate in when before they were making memories. So someone dunked them in water and said they're Christian. Now they say no. The real baptism is when we're adults. And so anyway, they were considered heretical by those who think of the Nicene Creed literally, I guess, and they were kind of hunted down a lot by the church. And there's a great story, and I've mentioned it before, Prophets of Doom from Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. So that group of wandering ghosts, they went to Jerusalem, didn't find what they were looking for, so they came to Carl. And then, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get to my notes. I want to apologize to you and give full disclosure about one small detail, which is that when Carl said, okay, listen, ghosts, I'm going to teach you. And then he started saying all this cool shit about nothingness and emptiness and everything and fullness and all of that stuff right at the end. That was in quotes. He put a quote there. And I think, and what did I write here? I think he put the quote there to indicate that his soul and maybe the devil, I guess, were doing the talking through him. I'm sorry for the subterfuge, but I left the quote out when I was reading it aloud because I wanted to emphasize precisely the opposite. This is Carl talking. It seems like he wanted to distance himself and saying, these words are just coming to me. It's like, no, you're saying what you know is true based on your experience and your contemplations. That's my opinion that I interjected into this. He's gone through these many processes to bring him to the place where he can say these things with confidence. He's learned through painful trial and error, and when the moment came and he really believed he was being called on as the only one who could help the 200 or so wandering Anabaptist ghosts, he opened his mouth and started moving his pen. He opened his mouth figuratively, he started moving his pen, and the words came out, the words that were so lovely at the end with Audiemos playing in the background and all that. Okay, so starting at the beginning, just going through what I've got here. Oh yeah, at the very beginning, the most sexy burlap rubs magnificently underneath a tramp. You remember that? Sonnet 1's line? Line 7 from sonnet number 2246, if I'm not mistaken. Carl is the most sexy burlap, and the tramp is his soul. The incarnate human with a body, being like a burlap sack, of course, was also a theme explored by Tim Burton in that movie 9. So yeah, there's the burlap, and it's unclear to whom or for whom the rubbing is magnificent, but intuition tells me that this is meant to be from the soul's point of view. For Carl, the rubbing is his torture, his frustration, but the soul is enjoying it a little too much. The tramp, the one he calls a tramp. And Aiwas does mean bondage to the anima and all that, so she's deriving pleasure from his being bound and tortured, hence sadomasochism, or BDSM, I believe they call it, post-1986 or whatever. For the rune, protect me or give me the power, he says, you thought of the protective rampart. Now this is interesting because thought over here, right? And over here, the fool, the thought, the primal thought. You thought of defense, thought and defense, right? The things that besiege me, Carl makes reference to, needing protection, feeling he needs protection. I don't know, if you don't know how to protect me from the devil's confusion, is that the hellfire? And so on. One of the things mentioned on the Emperor Reversed was, serious injury in battle. He mentioned something about his face being scarred from beholding the forbidden, so he wants to hide his face from Abraxas. I don't know. We'll get into Abraxas a little bit in a second, in a minute, or 5, whatever. The possibility of being defrauded of one's inheritance. I want to participate in your renown, the soul says. I mean, I don't know. This is a little bit of a stretch, but it seems like maybe the soul is... I mean, the very fact that he put a quote there is kind of like Carl giving up the credit for the words he's saying. Not that it's necessary, like credit or not credit. It's all one in the great, quantum foam, right? It's... an extreme position that contradicts the idea of like the right to copyright of artists and how AI shouldn't plunder the whole of human expression in order to get pieces to make its own thing. Even though that's a little, I mean, this is neither here nor there. I'm not entering into this conversation about AI and art and stuff. I think artists should be treated with reverence, more than AI-generated art. But anyway, what am I talking about? What I'm saying is that that's kind of what we all do, that we're kind of giving a different standard to AI and humans, because what can humans do other than receive data, receive images, receive art, and receive all these things into ourselves, then process it inside, and then put something out of our own that ultimately is based on bits and pieces of what we've received throughout our life. That's exactly what AI is doing when it generates a picture. But perhaps without the life or consciousness element to it, which kind of makes it a little bit like zombie stuff. But anyway, neither here nor there. The Emperor Reversed, we went over. Again, there's probably more, but My God, My Wonderful Light, I wrote here, is an introduction to the Fool stuff. What am I seeking? A fire. Fiery intelligence was so the 11th path of the Sefer Yetzirah is known as the fiery intelligence, and that's attributed to the path of Aleph, the Fool. You did not think of the fire that drives through the air. Sometimes it does autocorrect, so I don't know if I got that right, but the soul is talking to Carl, and fire and air again, the Fool, the fire in the air, the fire of the air, the Holy Spirit being both airy and fiery. A fire hovers in the air, a searing miracle. The breath of fire descends on you, like the Holy Spirit descending upon the heads, like tongues of fire in the Pentecost, for those familiar with that metaphor. The Celtic Fool, there was something, it is death, is it death, is it something immortal? Talking about the immortality in the Celtic Fool. Oh yeah, no, that was because okay. There was a point in the Celtic Fool description where they mentioned 2 names, and so I looked up those names. Dalua was one of the names, and it's from Celtic mythology, but it was from a play in 1899 by Scottish playwright. His real name is William Sharp. He went by the pseudonym Fiona MacLeod. And he wrote The Immortal Hour, loosely based on The Wooing of Etain, and it was first published in 1900, and he used characters from Celtic mythology, and then he invented a character called Dalug. There is a historical Dalug of Tibrodden. He was an early Irish saint said to have been a disciple of St. Patrick. So, some people think, oh yeah, I love Celtic stuff. St. Patrick, the Celtic cross. I was a different sort of, Celtophile when I was in my youth. I was into pre-Christian Celtic, pre-Christian anything at that time. But whatever, okay, sure. And then there's an interesting connection. Oh, right. Then the other name was Brigantia. And I was wondering if there's a connection with Bridget. Some people say there is, but they're distinct. And then there's Briganti, meaning the high one, is related to Burgunt, the Sanskrit word. Burgunt is Old High German. The Sanskrit word Burhati, meaning high, is an epithet of the Hindu dawn goddess Ushas and Avestan. So that's really interesting. Yeah, it's an old word that goes back to Proto-Indo-European times. Cool, interesting. White eagle, the card here, the butterfly, sensitivity, positiveness, transformations, harmony of transformations. Okay, no shortcuts, nothing is wasted. I thought that this was an interesting thing to note, that Carl, when he's struggling, he's going through something crazy, he thinks it's hell coming, and we can easily go, oh, he's losing his mind, what's he doing, he's going through something awful. But then it turns out, looking at the whole picture of the four entries we read today, and no, it was very much part of the process to get from A to B. You can't get from here to there without going through the fear. What is this fire? It's going to destroy everything. But then he got to know the nature of that fire, and then he kind of began channeling that fire and began speaking. So that's interesting. The magic item, the carpet. Okay. Oh yeah, there was something else. I wrote down yesterday. I'll just get to the stuff I wrote down yesterday. The fool may be walking off a cliff, but the butterfly can fly, as can the magic carpet. But so can the adult blue dragon. It has wings, right? So there's going to be some aerial fighting involved, perhaps? I don't know, maybe. Carl is the most sexy burlap. We did that already. Now listen, you dead. Right. That which is endless and eternal has no qualities, since it has all the qualities. Right. So in, let's put the veils of negative existence above my head. Up at the top there, you've got ein, which means there is no. In other words, it's called no thing with a capital, sometimes all caps. And then no limits. So no thing means no limits, which means no limits to the light. And so this is the veils of negative existence. They sort of are more primal, more primordial, more original than even the Keter at the top of the tree of life. So this whole tree of life comes to exist within a void space created within the Ein Sof, or through a process called Zimzum. It's kind of interesting Kabbalah stuff. Luria talks about it a bit, and a lot, really. The Celtic fool related to the spring festival. The emperor is Aries. This spring seems to be reversed. So there's a little bit of an interesting, and I remember in 2001, or late 2000, around early 2001, I was a new adept, and I had this thing where I was like just channeling. I was just like speaking, like someone would ask me a question, and I'd just start talking, and then people would just be like, "Wow, that's amazing!" But I wasn't like citing sources or anything like that, so that's not really my strength. It turns on and it turns off. So that reminds me of what the soul was talking about. You know, can you do it? No, you wait for it to happen. And then it happens. Trying to make the Holy Spirit flow consciously with like the mathematical type thinking isn't gonna work. Versus letting it happen when it happens and accepting when it doesn't. And there's steps you can take to get yourself into a frame of mind. Once you've kind of been there, once you know the way to get there, then you can get back there. But getting there the first time is the tricky part. That's the part that takes years. But then once you've been there, then you can say, okay, like turn off the lights, tell the kids to be quiet, and I'm going to light the candles, and I'm going to walk around in a circle, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to say this, and then, oh, okay, now, yeah, okay, then you can channel the Holy Spirit once you've kind of got it. I was also reminded of Jacob's Ladder, the movie, the demons that represent Jacob's resistance to death, and once he accepts it, then they become angels, or the little kid that was his son that passed away. It's a good movie. I've just spoiled the whole movie, though. Sorry. The Celtic fool is the spring festival. The emperor is Aries. The spring is reversed. Right, so there's a connection between the Celtic fool and the emperor, right? Is that right? the devil and the soul taking credits for his teachings when the credit should go to him? Question mark. I seemed to think it was, so I left out the quote. Carl was giving them the credit, so he put the quote. The description of the hasty move that could have dire consequences, the walking off the cliff and all, makes me think of the speed and immediacy with which he started pouring out the teachings to the Anabaptists about the pleroma. And it's kind of like, well, he just didn't hesitate. He jumped in. Oh yeah, what I was saying about 2001 was there was part of me is this that sort of Lutheran boy within me, is this the devil? Am I the Antichrist? I mean, someone called me the Antichrist once on Alt Magic, so that kind of fucked with me. But basically, and not in those exact words, but in many more words that went on and on and on and on. Long story. I mean, short story. It had to do with Poke Runyon. Not important. What? Okay, so the butterfly, like a butterfly, Carl is emerging from his cocoon, and he knows these teachings in his bones, in his genes, like the butterfly knows to fly. He's not learning to fly. The butterfly doesn't learn to fly. The butterfly just flies. It's as easy as speaking a command to a magic carpet. So once Carl finally embraces and surrenders, and they say, teach me, then he starts teaching, and it's good stuff. The adult blue dragon, lawful evil. So this is kind of interesting. It throws a shade of mystery on the entire experience. Should we be rooting for the soul? When I first read through it, I thought the soul was being very bad, and you heard me say I was on Carl's side. And then once I finished editing, I realized that the soul, the whole thing with the devil, I mean, I don't know about the devil. It's a little weird that, is it important that the wandering souls that were lost and trying to find the answers in Jerusalem and failing, is it important that they were heretics? Does it imply that normal Christians just go to heaven because they're not hung up on some heresy about getting baptized twice? Is this a subconscious or just an assumed fact by Carl based on his egregore? Perhaps. I don't know. Who cares? Are Carl's teachings wrong somehow? I mean, so a lot of folks think so. There's a lot of fundamentalist Christians that'll say Carl Jung is satanic or whatever. Is it the words of the devil and his trampy soul duping even me, as in me, or is the lawful evil of the adult blue dragon in the fact that there are wandering Christian ghosts trying to find salvation in Jerusalem on the astral, failing and resorting to asking Carl Jung? In other words, is that lawful evil the formula that those Anabaptist Christians perhaps were following? Is it in the structure of the idea of the afterlife and getting to heaven and doing the right stuff and all that? And so that's what Carl's up against. I mean, that kind of has a little bit of a ring of truth. He's going to come in with another perspective to fight against the big adult blue dragon that is the general Western misunderstandings about the nature of existence and all that. Is it important that they're Anabaptists? I already said that. Are they following Abraxas? Is Abraxas the adult blue dragon? Lawful evil demand the sacrifice of Carl Jung becoming a mouthpiece for his teachings about the pleroma to the ghosts? These are all questions. Carl as the messenger of the spirit fire, which will burn all of the houses because he stands before it with his robes singed. I don't know. Just wrote that down. Teach us the knowledge that you've gained and we lack. Begin wherever you think it's good to start. The fool beginning, the zero, the very first thoughts come out of the fool. Neither light nor dark, but we are the pleroma. Again, reminded me of the fool. So yeah, I mean, even down to the magic carpet and the adult blue dragon being lawful evil, I'd say that there was a lot. And I think that if you want to contemplate these ideas and watch this whole thing again, you'll probably discover layers that I missed. And today was a good one. There was something else I wanted to say. What was it? Okay, I forgot 3 things. The veils of negative existence, the Ein Sof is basically everything. Ein is basically nothing. And this kind of flows out of that, and they go together on, off, light, dark. the infinity thing. Yeah, all that kind of resonated with what he was saying there toward the end about the pleroma. Dogen, Ehe Dogen, Zen Buddhism. I don't know the exact quote, but it's something to the effect of, the great void is not called great because it is empty, but because it is full of all things. Basically, he said it more poetically than that. And then the third thing in that first thing was Huxley, Aldous Huxley in Doors of Perception. Well, he was quoting someone else, but he was talking about that the senses aren't additive, that they're eliminative, that our eyes cause us to see only what's in front of us instead of everything. Our ears cause us to hear only what's around us instead of everything in the universe, where the default would be that there'd just be so much information that we wouldn't be able to survive. So it's a practical thing, the separation from the pleroma, to use Carl's words. Also, nard, in the context that his soul was using it, refers to nardo stachys, a flowering plant in the honeysuckle family that grows in the Himalayas. New Moon, I don't know how to pronounce that. Nepal, Sikkim, and Bhutan at elevations from 3,000 to 5,000 meters, which is 9,800 feet to 16,400 feet. And in northern Myanmar and western central China. Also, from the Gospel of Nicodemus, which we'll get to one day, it's in the Nag Hammadi. It's actually something I'm looking forward to in the Nag Hammadi. There's a point where Jesus goes down to hell between Good Friday and Easter, you know what I mean? And shatters the iron doors of Hades as if they were glass. If I recall correctly. It's been 20 years since I read that. But the iron doors, know your iron doors, and then later he says the iron doors need to be blown open. So, yeah, that's what I got for today. Back to you, Frater BT.
All right. Well, I hope that was interesting, intriguing, enlightening. Not enlightening, unless you use a very lowercase definition of enlightening. You know, every word has like 4 or 5 different ways that you can use it. Sometimes capitalizing makes a difference. Okay, well, there it is. That's it. We've come to the tail end of this experience. I hope that you enjoyed it. And gosh, there's nothing new. Everything's pretty up to date. This episode, it ending, is the most recent thing in my life. I mean, isn't quite ended yet, but it's definitely winding down. You can tell better than I can if maybe I pick up steam and start rambling again, but let's hope not. All right, I think everything's good. We're in Gemini now, right? The sun, if you're doing the tropical thing. I don't know of anything in particular. 77, June 4th. 2025. Let's see what the card is of today using the method my folks taught me. My mom is an 8 of Wands and my dad is a 5 of Cups, which is the really cheery one in the Rider Waite deck. I'm the 10 of Pentacles. Thank you very much, God, for this incarnation. I don't know, maybe I did something good in a past life. But today is June 4th, 2025. So you add the 5 to the 2 and the 2 and you get a 9 and you cancel out the 9. So just forget the 2025. You can just not think about the 2025 for the whole year. So let's look at the other 2 numbers. The 6 and the 4. That makes 10. Hey! And it's Gemini. 10 of Swords. Oh, goody. Have you seen Lord of Illusions? Never mind about that. Well, the good news is, for you, even for Editor Edward, the numerology on that day is, I didn't have that kind of experience. I mean, you know, that's one of the downsides. Like, there are downsides of things like tarot. Like, you can have fun with it, but when that 10 of Swords comes up, it's hard to shake sometimes. You're like thinking about, Jesus Christ, that's harsh, you know, the imagery.
All right, well, that's a cheerful, random, weird thing to introduce into everybody's sphere of sensation right at the end there, BT. What's with you today? I don't know. It's like bookends. First we had the Sonnet 1 quote. Let's hear that again. The most sexy burlap rubs magnificently underneath a tramp. Right? Comedy comes in threes, or comes in something, I don't know. So yeah, that's the beginning, and the end is contemplating that January 4th, 2025 was the Ten of Swords. And, that also that you can forget about adding 2025 because it adds up to 9, and you cross out the 9s when you do that type of numerology. Okay. Now it's time to finish. There's nothing around me that I want to hold up and show you at the moment. This is, you remember I was talking about Kess's books? This is Kess Fry, Centering Prayer and Rebirth in Christ on the Tree of Life. This is the one he dedicated to my dad. The Will of Divine Love, Human Ground, Spiritual Ground, Bridge Across Troubled Waters, The Creation of Reality. Those are all Kess Fry's books. So the other day I was looking for them. When we were doing the finale of The Secret of the Golden Flower. The Secret of the Golden Flower finale. So for those who are new, one of the books that we read, now it's past tense, was The Secret of the Golden Flower, with me and various me's talking about it as we read it. It was 38 episodes, and you can start watching right now by clicking there. That's the playlist. Or you can skip to part 38 if you want. And what was I talking about? Yeah. So in part 38, the last episode ever of the Secret of the Golden Flower series on Chicken Philosophy, I was looking for Kess Fry's books behind me because he's the one who gave the book to my dad initially. And these are the Kess interviews. This is me, Frater BT, over on my personal channel, the Frater BT's, very honored Frater BT's Esoteric Nerd podcast. Interviewing Kess Fry a whole bunch of times. Did I already point? I think I already pointed, right? To the Kess Fry playlist. There's like 8 episodes of interviewing with Kess, and they're each like between 1.5 and 3 hours, so it's a lot. Okay, I guess that's it. So next up, we've got the first Platform Sutra recital on Buddhist Books Podcast. So if you want to keep an eye on, I don't know how many times I pointed, Pymander Aquarian, click through to the Pymander Aquarian playlist. You can click like follow this playlist or whatever, I think. I don't know. Or at least subscribe to the Pymander Aquarian channel. Maybe that'll help. So on there you'll see there's like all my channels, all the different things happening. So hence, like, this was, I think, Pymander 946, this thing. So in the big playlist, 947 is going to be probably, unless I add something in between, Buddhist Books, Zen Buddhism Part 9, in which we begin reading the Platform Sutra. And then Part 10 will be Dogen again. And then Part 11 will be Platform Sutra. So we're going to do that with the Zen portion. It comes around twice per period of 10 episodes of Buddhist Books Podcast. It's a little clunky and not as smooth as the Chicken Whale. There's only one guy. All right. I guess that's it. Until next time.